Today is about taking a risk, being willing to fail, and seeing opportunity in the mistakes and the struggle. Isn't that life? Happy Sunday, my friends. Welcome to Sunday Inspiration. I thought I would just kind of explain a little bit about why I decided to do this and kind of the journey that happened in the process. But I am eco-dyeing and I don't know really what I'm doing, but I'm willing to take the risk and try something new, and that's kind of the theme. Lots of good lessons in today's video. But so I have these clippings from the garden, and I am just laying them down on 9x12 mixed media paper and just soaking the paper and then spraying the paper and the clippings. I have them on top of a like a wax paper to keep the moisture from getting all over the place. And so I just spray them, and then I lay wax paper over the top and let them sit overnight. And look at these beauties. It's just so magnificent. So I have these wonderful stained papers, and I wanted a little bit more color, but that's okay. It's all an adventure. It's all about taking a risk and just going for it, not really knowing what the outcome will be. So I'm using some walnut ink to mimic that staining that happened naturally with the eco-dyeing, or whatever I did. I'm not even sure what I did, but I love it. And the walnut ink is perfect, and so I have it really watered down, and then I spray it again so that it kind of fans out and absorbs like the flowers did. Lots of drips and drops and things like that, to kind of just make it very organic and soothing and natural. Drawing some leaves and just kind of playing. So I was in the garden and I had clipped off my flowers, and then a humongous storm came and I left the flowers on the table. And I came out the next day and I had this mess all over my stone table. It's stained now permanently red from my flowers. But in that moment where I was like, oh my goodness, I had this aha moment, like, look at the gorgeous color though. Even though my table is probably never going to be the same. I ran upstairs and decided to do this without any prep, without even knowing what I'm doing, and sometimes that's what we have to do. We have to be present and take a risk and go for it. So I'm using fluid acrylic and some walnut ink watered down, and I'm just adding color to the flowers, the color that I was hoping that I would get, and trying to make it look as natural as possible. I have quinacridone magenta and I have green gold to kind of add to the leaves. So today we're talking about seeing the opportunity in the struggle, and I could have really been mad, and I am kind of bummed that my table is all stained, but I was present in the moment to see the beauty. And sometimes that doesn't always happen in our situations, and sometimes it takes time to see the beauty, and that's okay. But today's just a reminder that even in spite of the struggle, there are things to learn and opportunities and beauty and hope to come. So now that I've let these dry, I'm just going to add some collage elements. Of course, there has to be some paper. I'm putting this down with matte gel medium, and just bits and pieces. I wanted just a tiny bit of paper to show through. I wanted that interest and intrigue that's underneath all those layers. So I want to encourage you today to take a risk, Step outside your comfort zone. Try something new without knowing the outcome. That's what I did today. I have no idea what I'm doing. And you know what? The thing is, no one really does. No one has it all figured out. And if we can put on our courage muscles and just go for it and try new things and step outside our comfort zone or ask for what we want, or all of the things that we could do to take a risk. There's so many ways. I want to encourage you to do that. And also to be present in the moment so you can see the beauty that might actually happen in unfortunate situations, struggle and mishaps and different things like that. So now I've got my Inktense pencils out. And this is one of those experiments that didn't exactly work out like I planned. I thought that I would do my Inktense pencils and some other pencil marks and then go over it with some gesso, and it would blend beautifully, and I would have some really cool scribbles in the process, and it was okay. It didn't blend very well. I should have had more water in my gesso, but that's part of taking a risk. It's learning, it's growing. Next time I will know, and I will do it differently. So really all I've got now as I'm doing this is kind of a mess. And you know, that's okay. It's always a mess. The background's always a mess before the painting actually gets really great. So I have confidence enough to know that I can make it great again. But right now, the 3 pages are just going to be a bit of a hot mess. And what I'm doing right now is I'm doing what I would call reductive painting, or painting from the outside in. And just I can define the shapes that I want of the objects that are down, and you'll see that I kind of shape the leaves a little bit better, make some more definition within the flowers, define petals, and that is my favorite style of painting. So I watered this one down a little bit more, and I've got a little bit more blendability, but still it's just quite a bit of a hot mess. So now I'm going back over everything. It's kind of dried a little bit, but I changed my brush so that I've got a smoother feel to the page instead of little tiny brush strokes all over the place. Sometimes I want that, but I wanted it to feel a little bit smoother because there was kind of a lot going on. So now I want to try and add some color and unify all of the mess that's been going on so far, and just add another layer to simplify things a bit. And of course I went to my favorite color, and just messily painted everything. Tried not to be too precise. And one thing is, when you use a larger brush than what you're comfortable with, or like these are smaller pieces but I'm using a pretty good sized brush, it helps you get more of a painterly look. I'm just doing some mark making in the background. So I wanted to add, like I didn't have enough going on already, but it needed something. And so you just start trying to figure it out. I also wanted a word on there, but I didn't want it to be like I typically do, a word. So I put my intentions and my words in the background, with me knowing that I have a word for each one, but they'll be covered up. And that's my words stencil. And I'm using Naples Yellow and Nickel Azel Gold. I think it's quinacridone Nickel Azel Gold. And at first, when I first started doing this, I thought, what in the world? But once I got the next layer on, it all came together like it always does. So now I'm using a combination of Titan Buff and my gesso, and I've been using gesso as my white for these, and use it quite often as my white. But the Titan Buff just kind of warms it up just a tiny bit. And my goal is to come back over that and not completely cover everything that's in the background. I want some of the stenciling to show through. I want some of that turquoise. I want some of the paper. So I'm trying to be somewhat strategic with where I place everything. So I've done that process to all three. And now I'm going back with some really sketchy kind of lines, further defining my prints here, my eco-dyeing prints, whatever we call them. And I'm using a Conte pencil. And the further I hold it back when I'm trying to sketch, the more sketchy and artsy, and you normally would say like painterly, but it's really sketchy. When I start holding it like a regular pencil, I get really distinct lines, and that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a real natural, organic feel. So now that I've outlined all of my three prints here, now I'm coming back in with my charcoal pencil, and I'm doing some shading in the intersections of things, in the corners, under leaves. I always call them the intersections, but because it's where things meet other things, and so where you would naturally see some shadow. And now I am just edging the edges, and we are almost done. We made it through this experiment. I took a risk, and I hope today that you will take a risk. Whatever, I think everybody knows where they need to step out, and what their comfort zone is, and what they need to do to try to be bold. I think we all know, we just don't want to admit it. Here I'm putting some matte medium down to seal. I put some Spectra Fix down to fix it, and now I'm putting matte medium down to seal everything. All the bits and pieces, all the parts of the flowers, everything, just another coat. My friends, I hope your Sunday is awesome, and I hope that you are able to find the opportunity and the beauty and all the wondrous things in the struggle, in the everyday, in all the stuff. Hope you're able to find that beauty. And I also hope that you are present so that you can see where you need to go and what you need to do as far as taking risks and being bold and asking and doing. And I hope that your Sunday is awesome, and I hope that you always, always know that you are loved.